since we're breaking this down for our viewers as well. In fact, this is a significant stride towards social equality, where the 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court held the subclassification of scheduled castes is permissible to grant separate quotas for more backward within the Supreme Court categories. And what you're essentially drawing is legal perspective based on this hearing. But just for our viewers to better understand this, Rame, with what has happened so far, because this is related to the particular case that happened many years ago, which is why we're looking at this key takeaway right now.
So absolutely, what happened is that this particular matter was referred to a 7-judge bench by 5-judge bench in 2020. Now, this has been going on since 2004. A judgment in 2004 came, E V Chinnaiah, which stated that the SC category, the scheduled caste, cannot be subclassified further, and it's an one homogeneous group. So it was held in a 2004 judgment. It was further challenged. The hearing took place for many years, and finally a 5-judge bench was set in 2020 in the case of State of Punjab versus Davinder Singh. Now, this 5-judge bench further referred this matter to a 7-judge bench. It was observed by the 5 judges in 2020 that subclassification was not permissible, was required to be reconsidered in E V Chinnaiah judgment. Now, today, finally, the 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court has finally held that the subclassification is absolutely permissible, and to grant separate quotas for more backwards within the SC category. So ultimately, the SC category, the scheduled caste category, is not one homogeneous group. It can be subclassified further. There are multiple kind of backwardness within one category. It is not one that everyone can be seen with one same lens. SC category is not a particular umbrella term under which everyone would be equal, everyone would be seen. This is not the scenario over here as per the 7 bench judgment. So now there are people who might even falling in the SC category would be of different backwardness, would be facing different backwardness, would have different status, and hence the subclassification is further allowed.
Rami, in fact, as you pointed out and you're drawing things into perspective for us, we're given to understand while Justice Gawai is ending his judgment, he's quoted Dr. Ambedkar saying, and I'm quoting the same, that history shows when ethics is faced against the economy, the victory is always of economy. Having said that, the larger ramifications, in your opinion, given this particular judgment?
Absolutely. So the ramifications, Justice B.R. Gawai in his concurring judgment has stated that it is the duty of the state to give preferential treatment to the more backward communities. Now, this whole reservation system was one of the idea of our constitution makers, and it was deeply embedded in it. Though it was somehow stated by B.R. Ambedkar that it will be temporary, and once the status improves, it will be taken aback. However, we are still seeing that Justice B.R. Gawai has commented that even till today, even in this particular century, the SC and ST categories have faced more oppression. They are still not at par with the other categories, with the general categories, with the OBC categories. They have been facing more and more oppression. And hence, it is important that they should not be included in one.
Right, Rami. In fact, as you draw those pointers, stay with me. I understand also Harish Nair, our colleague, is joining us for more on this. Harish, very good morning. Massive development. Of course, Rami was drawing things into perspective. But in your opinion now, with the key takeaway that you will help us draw better perspective on the bigger ramifications of this, Harish.
Yes, in fact, this comes while the issue of caste census is raging. A big Supreme Court verdict on whether subclassification of SC/ST categories is permissible. So, in a significant ruling, a 7-judge constitution bench by 6-1 majority has held that subclassification of SC/ST is permissible to grant separate quotas for more backwards within the SC/ST categories. Only Justice Bela Trivedi has dissented out of the 7-judge bench. Supreme Court ruled that SC are not a homogeneous group, and government can sub-classify them to give more weightage and 15% reservation to those who suffer more discrimination by SCs. Supreme Court bench holds sub-classification of SC/STs is permissible for providing quota within quota. Justice Gawai even went on to say it is the state's duty to give preferential treatment to the backward communities. Only few people within the category of SC/ST are enjoying the reservations. Basically, Supreme Court has overruled 2004 judgment of the 5-judge constitution bench in the case of E V Chinnaiah versus State of Andhra Pradesh, and also some important observations at a time when caste data collection is in controversy. The bench said basis of subclassification has to be justified by quantifiable and demonstrable data by states. It cannot act on its whims. Justice Vikramnath also touched on the creamy layer issue, saying any exercise of subclassification must be supported with empirical data. I agree that creamy layer principle as applicable to OBCs also applies to the, the scheduled caste. Going to the background of the case, in fact, this bench was pronouncing judgment on the permissibility of sub-classification within SC and STs. And even during the hearing, what is important is that during the 6-day-long marathon hearing, the court had deliberated upon the social history of untouchability, the notion of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes as perceived from the lens of constitutional maker. So the big takeaway is that in a landmark ruling, the 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court by 651 majority has held that sub-classification of SC/STs is permissible to grant separate quotas for more backward within the SC/ST categories. Back to you.
Right, Harish. In fact, as you draw things into perspective, okay, all right, I'm going to come back to you. I understand Aarti Singh of the BJP joins me on the broadcast. All right. How do you view this? Thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us here on Mirror Now.
Well, this complete verdict of the court need to be studied properly, but this will probably ease out the things for the people, the governments who have been allocating quota within quota. But yes, it needs a detailed study by our legal team. Once it has been done, then we'll come back to you on the complete detailed report of this quota within quota.
Right, Mr. Singh, thank you very much for taking the time out and sharing with us your perspective as to how you're essentially looking at this. But that is, of course, R.P. Singh of the BJP who shared his perspective on the same. If Harish is, of course, continuing to stay with us, I'm going to go back to him. If not, let's tell you the key takeaways as far as this is concerned. Okay, Harish, coming back to you, this will also potentially pave way for groups like the Maratha Quota reservation or Meiteis. How do you look at that? All right, we'll try going across to my colleagues Harish Nair as well as Rami Rana to help us better understand the significant development. But of course, this is a big news as far as this is concerned. We'll continue to track that and a lot more.